Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Compliance by Design, the podcast for legal and compliance leaders. I'm your host, Laurence Baker, VP of Marketing at Avantia. Now, last episode, we dug into the tech behind Ava, Avantia's proprietary agentic AI. But here's the reality. Building an AI-powered law firm or integrating new legal tech, it isn't just a technology challenge. It's an operational one. Lawyers don't just wake up one day and go, new tools. There's a process, there's a lot of trust building, and ultimately a lot of hard lessons along the way. So today, I'm joined by our COO, Hannah Thompson. Hannah actually started her career as a financial services litigator before moving into enterprise tech and then operations. And now she's responsible for Avantia's fast growth tech-enabled firm. Hannah, I'm excited to have you on today. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, I couldn't be happier. There's literally no way I would rather spend my Friday. Thank you for inviting me.
So I wanted to kick off with your early career. So start out as a lawyer or a litigator. What made you want to move to the business side and then ultimately COO?
Litigators are lawyers too, you know. We're just a special breed. We're on the antagonistic end. So I loved my career as a lawyer. I trained at McFarlane's and I had a super duper training, and I ended up in FS litigation doing some incredible cases, and my career was going super well. And so there wasn't ever, I never made a positive choice to lead law. But what I realized was this thing that happened at the end of running a big case where the client would shake your hand and go, "Thank you so much. I hope I never see you again." Those exact words became a little harder to deal with, because for me, I work to build relationships, and you invest a lot of effort in people. So what I realized I wanted to see was the continuity and the fruit of my work. And so when I got the opportunity to move business side, I grabbed it with both hands. And ultimately, then I realized that what I really enjoyed were the commercial drivers behind the legal decisions. And I wanted to feel more accountable for seeing those advice and those decisions through to its end. So I moved in-house.
And then full circle, lawyer to law firm. And if we...
Well, you skipped the tech bit in the middle, shaped me and shaped my desire. I think it made me realize that what I wanted to do was run an organization. I had lots of incredible building blocks of experience along the way. So I did work, I set up a new business function, I did technology strategy, I did partnership management. All of that helped me to realize that the thing that I enjoyed was sort of this matrix of people and systems, and almost the more complicated that is, the more motivated I am, and the more difficult someone says something is, the more I want to solve it. And so ultimately, after a career in big tech and law, what I realized was that I wanted to take the best of all of these little things that I'd learned and put them into a company that I could help to build and be the best of everything.
Obviously, that was Avantia.
It was, yeah. Serendipitously, yes. And it was like the needle in the haystack, because you don't ever expect to find the perfect triad of. For me, it was law, tech, and financial services in a growth environment with a team that were just monumentally driven to do something extraordinary. So that was 2.5 years ago, and I'm still here today doing kind of my best job ever.
Yeah. And obviously, I agree, it's the best place to work. I think it is a really interesting, your point there about almost the trifecta of those two things together. And when you traditionally look at law firms, they're not known for efficiency. So when you were looking at Avantia or looking at the space, what made you think actually there's a different way of doing this, and we can do this differently?
So all the credit for deciding to disrupt this model goes to James. He saw the old hourly rate model as dying the death that it is dying, and he saw the opportunity for taking repeatable tasks and breaking them up and costing this in a different way. I joined partway into that journey, but I'd had my own experience of realizing that the structure, the hierarchy, the breaking one's life into 6-minute units, and all of which is sort of the antithesis of what a customer needs, which is for you to be as efficient and fast as possible. So that there's a conflict ultimately, in my view, between a traditional law firm model and achieving customer goals. So I was delighted to have the opportunity to come and work somewhere where I could come and bust a few myth traditions and see if we can make it work, because we're doing something differently and it is working, but it's been a work in progress. And businesses are now latching onto this, and they realize that it makes total sense to them to fix their prices. It makes total sense to work with an organization that's motivated to do things as quickly and efficiently as possible. But it's not a comfortable place for some clients where they're sitting with their traditional law firm relationships. We see a world in which the two sit very nicely together.
Yeah.
You've got your traditional law firm strategic relationships advisors, and then you work with Avantia for the rest.
Yeah. And I think I do think the billable hour piece is a really interesting one, and how long that's going to play out, we shall see.
But it's also about, like, lawyers are oftentimes the smartest person in the room. And yet, because we've up until now been working in a largely undigitized industry, you're watching the smartest person in the room repeating tasks that they will have done tens, if not hundreds of times in their career.
Yeah.
And through that firm, probably thousands of times. And your logical brain is like, why am I doing this again and again? There must be a better way. How can I spend time using my brain to apply judgment, strategy, commercial nous, relationship building? I want to be the empath and the strategist in the room, and not the person that's editing a Word document or filling in blanks or writing out notes. And just, it's incredibly, incredibly manual oftentimes. And so how can we take that talent, free it from the constraints of relatively limited career pathing, very desk-bound, repeat work in many cases, and also give them the most exciting bits of the job to do and take away the repeat aspects in a way that rewards everyone being more efficient?
And actually, let's talk about that, because I think, if we're honest, there is a healthy skepticism with lawyers around the benefits or the capabilities of legal AI and automation. We all know some of the popular solutions that aren't currently making lawyers' lives easier or don't make lawyers' lives easier, but there's a perception in the market that you need to be using tech. So when we launched Ava earlier on this year, and we've embedded that, like, what was the response? What was the resistance? Kind of, how did you approach that?
Everyone joins Avantia because they want to come and be part of a company that's building something new. So people were excited, but they're also naturally skeptical, because those of us that have been around for a few years have all worked with systems that have actually slowed us down rather than speeded us up. I was thinking about the VPN example of, the thing crashes in the middle of the night, you lose half your document, you're uploading complicated file management details onto complex document management systems. Like, traditionally, for lawyers of a certain generation, tech has been a necessary evil, not an accelerator, not something to be particularly excited about. That was happening in other industries. It wasn't happening in law. To a certain extent, you've got document litigation, which has really jumped on the tech bandwagon, but they were sort of the forerunners. So it excited me, and the rest of the workforce were really looking forward to things coming and really shifting up the way that they could work. I think we've got an incredible cohort of graduates that are tech native, super savvy, and excited to build things. And we've got a technology team that have spent 20 years in private markets building phenomenal systems. So putting those two groups of people together was the kind of the driving force behind building something specifically for lawyers in private markets.
Yeah.
But there were other people, the sort of the next ring of the onion, that were excited. And then as you move out, you get people that are naturally going to take longer and longer to adopt, and more reserved, because we've always been taught as lawyers that you're really aspiring for perfection, because there's not a lot of room for getting things wrong. And so your natural assumption is that only you can do the best job, and you never want to be relying on anyone else. And relying on technology is a big leap of faith. And the majority of AI, even at its most reliable, still has a delta to 100% accuracy.
Yeah.
And when you launch new products, you're lucky if you get 80% accuracy. So it's a question of showing people the early wins. So when we launched, we did a number of waves of why and what, and we set up working groups. And then the really important thing was to get the systems to start to take away the difficult / boring bits of the job, to reduce the administrative time spent chasing people, like uploading documents, like alerts, reminders, first drafts of things. And then as soon as people realized that there was a possibility that their job could become easier and they weren't going to lose their job, because people naturally question that as well, then we got the buy-in. And then there's been a rolling momentum of people getting more interested and starting to use it. So I've got this lovely graph of Ava interactions. We started off at something like 50 interactions a week, and we're now at 200,000 interactions a week, because every lawyer now in the organization, it's a fundamental part of their role. I'll pause there.
Yeah, no, I do think that the two bits you said that really resonate for me. One is, I think at the beginning it was always AI is coming for your jobs, and it's not. It's just going to help take away the bits that you don't want to be doing anyway. And the second part there is, it is always the need for a kind of lawyer in the loop to do that final checks and apply that critical analysis and thinking. By combining the two of those things together, theoretically, you get a kind of an easier change management play.
Yeah, the lawyer's never going anywhere in our system, because our clients need, at the end of the day, it's the person that they pick the phone up to. It's the person that deals with ambiguity. It's the person that they trust to get the thing done. The platform just accelerates that process and gives everyone a faster, easier job to do around the kind of the bits that they do every day. But the human element of this is like fundamental to what we do. And actually what it means is that our lawyers can invest more time in the relationship side of the business, in learning, in developing. So the huge focus now is not in adoption, it's in improving our processes so that we can break down the processes into even fewer pieces and move even faster for customers, and find opportunities and find things that they haven't thought of themselves on their side of the organization to move faster. So it frees people up to think and to see things differently.
Well, and you mentioned processes there. Let's talk about how we do that, because it's, how do we take something that's and I'm not a lawyer, but a long, kind of complicated legal process, and then we turn that into something that's ready for automation? How do we approach that?
Okay, so first of all, there's a rare breed of person that's obsessed with process optimization. You need some of those people. You lock them in a room with a couple of whiteboards and a lot of post-it notes, and you take the process and you break it down into every single one of its constituent parts. And you want to know who is doing it, why they are doing it, how they are doing it, how they could do it differently, how could technology help. And then once you've analyzed every single bit of the process, then you can start to eradicate the inefficiency, the handoffs, look for the automation points, and create the simplest, shortest step of sequence of events. And then you bring in the tech team, and you're designing a workflow then around what your optimized process with your people. And that's what we did with our technology team, is that they then designed the automation and the AI elements of the delivery of that workflow. But it starts with the quality of the process that goes into it.
Yeah. And then, something we've been actually talking about quite recently, or I'm hearing recently a lot as well, is once that initial process piece has been done, then it's that continual feedback loop, and the benefit of having these graduates and lawyers that are really interested in getting involved alongside the tech team is having both of those together.
It's fundamental, because you don't get it right first time. And part of systems design and fast iteration in technology is you have to have the feedback loop. And the smaller that feedback loop is, the faster you can iterate. So I sat down with someone the other day, not in our business, who was the builder and the feedback loop. And they were able to design and build things in minutes where it would have taken other organizations weeks. So we have a working group and a team of lawyers within each of our service lines who are giving that feedback to the tech team. And then you really need a product person sat in the middle going, I know you want this, but do we really need it? And is that more important than that other thing? And that's product management. That's fundamental to the process. Otherwise, you build for everything and everybody, and it turns into a beast. So it's really important to manage that. And it needs to look beautiful. So you need a gorgeous front end, and it needs to be bug free, and it needs to actually add value. So the fundamental thing that you're looking for is, are you getting the data feeds built in day one that are telling you how people are using it? Are they using it better, smarter? What value is it adding to the business? What value is it adding to the customers? And that's a continual process.
I think that kind of almost leads nicely on to the next question, which is about the future and where we think this is going, not just for Avantia, but like more widely. Like, what do you think the broad reality of AI in law is today? And then where are we going in the future? What kind of excites you about where we're going to?
We are still front of this wave, not we Avantia, we the world are still, this is still a building momentum, and we haven't seen the half of it yet. No. Everyone will get there. I think traditional law firms counting down in single digits the number of years they have left in a non-AI led world. And the next wave of service delivery through AI is coming. However, the platform and the app will not, I don't see in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm not going to say in my lifetime because I'm hoping to live a very long time, but there is not at the moment confidence within the experts in this industry that we will ever get to 100% reliability or accuracy. Yeah. And that's with the best systems in the world, they're not operating at that because for the reasons that we know, AI makes mistakes. The higher the stakes in the deal, the higher the stakes with the client, they will not be able to leave, though some certain risks will not be able to be left to machines. And ultimately you therefore need a second pair of eyes, a layer of judgment, and somebody who's taking responsibility for that. I think that combination of people woven in with the tech is what ultimately gives people a level of comfort and common sense, and to apply human judgment, which AI is still some way off being able to replicate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's it, isn't it? So there are still many bits where at the end of the day, we still want a human or a lawyer to be the one making the call versus trusting AI to do it.
Well, trust is the word. Our clients buy us because they trust us. They trust us to do a good job. Their friends and colleagues have referred in oftentimes us to them because they trusted us to do a job. Law is the business of trust and relationships. And I don't see that changing for a long time. I hope it never does, because it's the piece that I feel passionate about.
Yeah.
It's ultimately relationship led. We just want as much smart tech in there as possible, taking out all of the boring bits of the job and enabling the smartest people in the room to do what they're good at. So by doing that combination of what we call that system of work, we can deliver services and scale in a tech-like way, whilst you've still got this premium law firm feel and quality, and at the heart of it sits trust.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's really interesting. So just if I kind of recap on those things, for me, it's what stands out there is actually building and embedding AI actually isn't about the AI itself. It's about the people, the understanding the workflows, and then working out how to make them as efficient as possible. It's the data that sits behind it. And ultimately, it's those three things together that then make them usable, trustworthy, both externally and internally for our lawyers, whoever's using it. So we look at it that way, rather than it being a rush to secure a solution, the firms or the teams that are going to succeed, it's not about buying something for the sake of it or doing something for the sake of it. It's actually taking time to understand those workflows, get people involved, bring them along for the ride, make sure they having the right people input, and then actually only embed something where it genuinely makes people more efficient, it makes the work better.
It has to make a difference. Otherwise, you're just paying lip service to a fad. And AI isn't a fad. It's here to stay. You've got to find ways for it to work for your business to really be impactful. And just bolting it on because everybody else is doing it is not going to be the answer.
Yeah,
but doing it well is really hard.
Yeah.
All change is hard.
Yeah.
And managing the people and the process side of that change is what's been really interesting here. And we've learned a lot of lessons and we're still learning. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, we are actually coming up at time. So Hannah, thank you so much for joining us and showing that perspective. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. Please like and subscribe, obviously on your favorite podcast channel. If you have any questions or thoughts on what we've discussed in today's episode, you can email me at laurence@avantia.com. Links in the podcast description, or drop me a message on LinkedIn. Hannah, thank you very much for joining us and
pleasure
spending your afternoon with me.
Take care.